I think. No, we're not live yet. I think.
We're not?
No. Still loading, see?
Still loading.
Yeah, the computadore. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Oh, there. Now we're live, I think. Yeah. 4 seconds live.
4 seconds live.
7, 8, 9.
Hi,
10.
everybody.
Hello.
If you see us, definitely let us know. Say hi. Let us
Hi.
know when you're watching
Also,
from. Also, what?
I forgot.
Okay.
Oh wait. Also, we'll wait for a bit more to start because
Yeah, we want people to come in and join.
Yeah,
Let them know we're here.
yeah.
But yeah, definitely say hi. Let us know where you're watching from. Um,
And
it,
aircon.
it is a holiday today.
Happily.
I meant to. It's Happy Eid. No,
What?
it is. So yeah, Happy Eid
Hello.
El Fatir, I think.
Happy
That is-
Eid al-Fitr.
There you go. That's
Festival
what's a
of Light?
holiday.
No,
over
that's a
here.
different, I think.
That is Diwali.
Yeah,
But today, that's why it's a holiday.
Yeah.
I have my co-host back.
Hey, it's a holiday, but that doesn't mean I still don't have work to do.
This is true.
I
We have a
I
lot
have
of
a lot of
schoolwork.
work to do.
We have a lot of schoolwork and a lot of work to do.
It's
Um,
summative.
but yeah, we'll give it a few more minutes and say hi to everybody.
Hello.
And then yeah, we're going to be talking about hair, and more hair today. And we've been on lockdown for a while, so hair, we're all kind of in need of a haircut.
Remember Papa's
Hi,
the Wolverine
Nina.
haircut?
And hi, Carmela from San
Hello.
Juan.
Hello. Mama, remember Papa's health haircut where it was just
Yeah,
Wolverine?
your papa is starting to look like Wolverine.
Yeah.
And Anna, Tita Anna's watching from Antipolo.
Hello. Typing school.
And Jan is back, yay, from Utah. Oh, I hope your weather's nice now.
Yeah,
Here
hopefully.
it's wicked hot.
I know, it's so hot. Type.
Type. So Gavin is learning how to type.
Well, no, I know how to type. I just want to get
Excuse me.
faster.
Okay, fine. He wants to get faster. I don't know how many people out there ever actually had to learn how to type, but I am of the generation where it was still taught in school, so I could type.
We did.
I
not
can
taught
type.
we
It's-
were taught in
it's
school,
been-
grade 3.
It's been a little amusing watching some younger folks really perplexed when they're hit by a keyboard. So they're so used to just using their fingers.
I know. I learned it in grade 3, which was when I started actually.
But not
using-
from school.
Oh, yes, from school.
Oh, get out. Seriously?
Yeah. We had this
Stand
website called
corrected then.
typingclub.com where we just FJ.
So there you go, typingclub.com for those of you who have not yet learned how to type. And on that note, we'll give it maybe one more minute and then I will introduce our topic for today before we call in our resource expert.
Hey.
Oh, Jenna it wasn't only taught in school, but we actually had to learn on a typewriter. Oh my gosh, me too. Jenna, you and I both. I am 49. I turned 50 this year in December. Hey, Casey. So yeah, I learned on a typewriter.
I learned on
and
a.
I was actually so fast. Our typewriting teacher wanted me to compete in like a typing thing, and I was like, no. I mean, I'm a geek, but maybe not that much of a geek. Okay,
Yeah,
on that note.
I see her when she types now, and she's just like.
That's right.
Yeah.
What I say? What do I always say? 80 words. What am I? 120 words a minute. I'm something nuts. Anyway, on that
a bit
note,
faster.
I think it is hey Jasmine, it's a good time to start. Welcome to our Skinsights on
Hair, and more hair.
hair, and more hair. So it's a popular topic. So it's actually a bit of a redux, but it's exciting. I'm actually not going to talk a lot about the medical stuff because my mom, bless her heart, she's in the middle of all these amazing new studies that she's doing, and she actually stays up for these live streams to do extra work to make sure she's got the latest stuff to share with you, which I think is pretty awesome.
Which we don't recommend because she sleeps late.
Anyway, so please remember to ask your questions early. Comments, certainly we'd love to know how any of the things that you're hearing are landing. So give us a heart or a thumbs up or a big old question mark if, we start talking too fast or there's something we're talking about that's really just,
It's just like.
Right. Don't forget to, you've forgotten your little spiel.
Like us on, subscribe.
We got
I
it.
haven't done this in a long,
It's
long time.
okay. Everyone's
So like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, subscribe on YouTube, turn on notification bell also. Also, don't miss out on any new videos we're
That's
gonna post,
right.
which
We're-
is
yeah.
every week.
We post new videos up every week now, and a lot of them are actually in response to your questions and comments. So definitely
didn't-
comment with questions that you have or
Didn't
stuff
we
you want to
finish
share.
allergen, not an
Covered.
allergen?
We did. That was April. So I
Yeah.
will again leave all the science to my mom because there's a lot of exciting new stuff, including literally breaking a nice new study on coconut oil
Breaking?
and the scalp's microbiome for dandruff. So that'll be really interesting.
Okay.
But in the meantime, I will talk about sort of stuff that VMV has that can be helpful to those who have scalp or hair concerns. Our hair and body washes are both hair and body for a reason because they're that gentle, allergen free, irritant free, and that level of gentleness and moisturization for the skin can also really be beneficial to the scalp. We had a live stream a few weeks ago on hair and scalp as well,
Didn't
where we
did
talked. You did, and your dad was actually there to talk about
Oh.
hair loss and stuff.
Hmm.
And one of the things that we reminded people is dandruff is really not sort of something you're, quote, just born with. A lot of times it is an irritant reaction to something or an allergic reaction to something. So just switching
Sorry.
to a
This is what dandruff sounds like.
no, it doesn't. No, stop. Just switching to a hair shampoo without your allergens or irritants can be extremely helpful. And in terms of hair loss, using something that doesn't have your allergens, that's less irritating, that's very gentle, can help reduce the strain on the hair shaft. As can, this is the tip that we shared back then that everyone loved, not wearing your hair pulled back tight a lot because that causes traction alopecia, ballerina baldness, all
What?
that strain. That is a physical trait. Yeah, ballerinas get alopecia. So we have three hair and body washes: Superwash,
Clark Wash, and Cool and Clean.
Cool and Clean. The main difference between Superwash and Clark Wash is that Superwash is also a great clarifying shampoo if you need that. And it has SLES, while Clark Wash does not. So Clark Wash is more for very, very sensitive skins and scalps, also dry or treated hair. Cool and Clean is similar to Clark Wash, no SLS or SLES, but it also has glycerin and our organic virgin coconut oil and monolaurin for more slide and moisture because it is, after all, for babies and also babies with disrupted skin barriers, right? So there, and if you would like to learn more about SLES and SLS, which are actually not allergens but can potentially be irritants at higher concentrations, but they're also coconut derived and really good, actually, antimicrobials. You can look at that online at vmvinskin.com. Just search for SLS or SLES. If you're concerned about amidoamines, if that popped up in your patch test results, you can search for that also on vmvinskin.com.
Oh god, my eyes are tearing. I'm so tired. What? I've
Okay.
been working all morning.
Squeeze me so someone's tired. Other stuff, reminders very quickly, you can shop all of our validated hypoallergenic products, the majority of which contain our clinically published organic first cold pressed virgin coconut oil
That's a
and
very,
monolaurin.
very long name.
Yes, on vmvhypoallergenics.com internationally and vmvhypoallergenics.ph in the Philippines. And in the US, we're offering actually our e-gift cards now at a discount, which is pretty
E-gift
cool.
cards?
You get 20%. Yeah, so you can get an e-gift card and then you email it to someone you love and they can buy VMV stuff. Their values are $50, $100, $150, and you can get them now at 20% off.
Oh, so it's like the Amazon gift cards.
Yeah, very, very similar.
Yeah, that I got.
His birthday's coming up, so he's
Yes.
very excited.
I'm very
So
excited.
all May in the Philippines, you can purchase any Re-Everything product and get 2 travel-sized Re-Everything eye serums for free. Our Modasport 70 is back in stock. I have been, all my friends have been harassing me. I am so sorry. We've been so late, but they're back in stock. And all our stores are closed during the lockdown, but we do offer curbside pickup. You can shop online. You can shop on Viber. If you would like a teleconsultation with
You can
his
just schedule
grandmother,
with her
my mother,
over there.
you can DM us and we will help make that happen.
Right there.
And you can always, anywhere all over the world, let us know your patch test results, and we can customize recommendations for you based on your particular allergens and possible cross reactants. Lastly, we do have a lot of stuff on YouTube that you might find interesting, and we'll be coming out even with like smarter, smaller snippets
That happens
of
to me quite a lot.
tips that will be going up soon. So, Mama needs another espresso. On that note, I will be calling in your grandmother,
Come on,
Dr.
Alex, come on,
Verman
Alex,
Garalia
come on.
Rawal, my mother and our founding dermatopathologist.
Come on.
It's quite a morning here, folks. So yeah, welcome, welcome.
Hello there.
Hello, hello. Don't you look
Hello,
Good
hello.
morning.
Guys,
Good morning.
guys.
You're leaving?
Yeah.
Mwah.
Bye, honey.
A
Thank
double,
you.
double,
Oh,
double.
double. Mwah.
Double kiss.
Hello.
Bye.
Bye, honey. Thanks for joining us.
We'll tell
Bye,
everyone not to
guys.
disturb you guys.
Oh, well, you never
Swim with
disturb.
you later.
You kind of disturb sometimes. So that's
Hi.
where you look to say hello to everybody. But so today I want to introduce her for those who are just joining us. My mother is sort of this incredibly big brain. I think personally this is such a special opportunity to have her because getting her in a consultation. I don't know. This is an easier, more casual thing where you can ask sort of the questions you'd like an expert opinion on. And I think people tend to forget that dermatologists actually see people for hair and nail concerns.
Mm-hmm.
What I find interesting, this is a very personal opinion without any studies behind it, a lot of so many dermatologists do very well with aesthetic dermatology, which is fine, and that's what they specialize in. But I found that the doctors that tend to focus on hair, scalp, nail conditions are also the ones who tend to focus on hospitalized cases, more complex skin conditions,
Inflammatory diseases.
etc. Hi, Charming. Yes, May, I promise. I will address that later. But so there, on that note, say hi to everybody.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. Hello, world. Welcome to a better world as COVID disappears. Hopefully.
We'll see. So, we have a lot of actually really interesting questions. So it's about
Okay.
hair, I'm sure hair loss, hair treatments, depilation removal.
Mhm.
But I know you were studying quite a bit of new things. I want to hear first what you have to share that you think is really kind of funky and new.
Yeah. They're not new necessarily, but they're ways of presenting to you guys in such a way that you understand why the hair becomes weathered, why they become brittle or dry or whatever, and what can be done for them. Several approaches. First, we approach it from the cosmetic point of view, which is what skincare cosmetic or skincare thing procedures. What are the causes? Okay, the fracturing, the splintering, the destruction, the lessening of the number of hairs in your scalp, the lessening of the density, and the becoming less in diameter of that hair is could be just a function of age, but or your ethnicity, because there are differences in diameter when you gray hair starts, or when it is when the diameter is thinner, etc. Among various, say, the Caucasian or people with other ethnicities like Asian or people with Afro-American ethnicity. There are studies actually showing differences. But beyond that, all of them are affected by what is done on them, like bleaching,
So, exposomes, for those of you who have seen us before, right? She talks a lot about genetics and exposomes, if I'm correct, what
Correct.
you're talking about. Sorry,
Yeah.
quickly. Hi, Nika from Bangkok. Yay!
Yeah,
Love you.
hi, hello, from our part of the world. How do you do? Yeah, the exposomes are a very interesting group of things that have been studied very well now after the genomes, then the microbiomes. Now the exposomes are found to be at about, let's say, if the genomes account for about 25% of the cause of disease, the exposomes are actually the ones that trigger those genomes to act up and behave the way they do,
Right.
right?
So,
So among the exposomes, as far as the hair is concerned, would be the sun beating down on the scalp and the hair, the environment now that we are in COVID and we're exposed to a lot of chemicals that are in the air, Again, the scalp would be affected as well as the microbiota of the scalp would be affected because of the antibacterial and antifungal effects of airborne chemicals from the Lysols and the Clorox and the
The
scrap
bleaches,
the names, the bleaches and
the
chlorinated hydrocarbons.
disinfectants that
There
we
you go.
use, many of which have chlorine,
Yeah,
right,
that a lot of people like
as a
to do for
bleach.
deep cleaning of everything that is in the surface, in the
So
bathroom of the
that can
kitchen or the
actually
house.
affect your hair.
Yes, they can actually affect your hair. I have
I
seen, for
didn't know that.
instance,
Interesting.
gentlemen who are already beginning to thin or have, that's another part of our talk today, would be how the thinning of the hair may be just from age as well, but it can also be various other things like due to round spots called alopecia areata or due to an inherited trait from your parents' side. The women's is a pattern kind of a hair loss called female pattern alopecia, and it need not be genetic due to the hormones, but to multiple factors.
Okay, well
So I think I went beyond, right?
let me back up a little bit just to make sure I summarize. No, 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 I'm gonna let her go, but I'm gonna stop occasionally to just summarize for some of us.
Super,
So,
super, super.
um, so definitely our genes play a part, and some inherited types of hair loss, for example, would be related to androgen,
Mm-hmm.
right? Hormones. So men will get male pattern baldness, which
Mm-hmm.
is androgen alopecia. Is that correct? Am I
Mm-hmm.
making that up?
Right.
Okay. And then,
Androgenetic male pattern baldness or androgenetic alopecia.
and for women, women can also get that kind of hereditary
We
hair
used to
loss.
call it female androgenetic alopecia, but it's more properly called now the female pattern alopecia,
There you go.
FPA.
But on top of our genetic, what we've inherited from our parents and our grandparents and whatever, what can really affect our hair and our scalp and our follicles is our exosomes. And that, interestingly enough, I just was talking earlier about shampoos, harsh ingredients that can cause problems in the scalp, or irritants and allergens that can cause scalp issues and flaking and stuff like that, and cause strain on the hair shaft
Right.
that can lead to hair loss. But I also talked about traction alopecia and the pulling, but she just added a new thing, which to me was new for sure, the idea of all the disinfectants in the air.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of the disinfectants contain chlorine,
Mm-hmm.
which is a very strong irritant and can be airborne.
Mm-hmm.
And then when it comes to the hair, what can it do? How
The,
does it
the, the
affect?
scalp is a very interesting part of the anatomy in that it has the most number of hairs, it has the most number of sebaceous glands, it has a different microbiota from the rest of the body. And which brings us to this new article Laura was talking about, which is fascinating to me
Right.
because, among the things that you can use in hair products to repair the action either of the things that you have done, you do to your hair, and that will also affect the scalp, like bleaching, drying, stretching, blow drying, and all of that kind of curling and straightening. Those all are physical aspects that affect the hair. You stretch it more than 30%, it's going to no longer be like a rubber band, but it will become slightly splintered or
Mm-hmm.
cracked. And you go beyond 80, 70%, and it's going to be irreversible damage, so that eventually you get weathering. So those are
Ah,
all
that's
from the,
interesting.
yeah, those are from all the external things that you're using to actually act on the natural wave or natural curliness or natural straightness of the hair. Beyond that, also, while you're doing all that, because the ingredients in these products that are used to straighten, to lengthen, to whatever, are destroy in a sense. They alter the alkalinity. They alter they make them swell up. They basically change their anatomy so
This
that
is the chlorine still, the
no,
disinfectants
I'm talking now about the products that are used in
on the
order to stretch
also
and
hair treatments and stuff.
yes,
Okay.
that's right, on the hair treatments. So there are different, they're more alkaline, and the normal pH of hair is really more on the acid. They're more that way they act better. So these things are very important in that they affect the hair itself. But you must remember also that they can also affect the soil, it's of
The
the
soil,
hair,
the
the
follicles, the
scalp.
scalp. Yeah,
Yeah, so the hair follicle itself,
I like that. The
yeah, the
soil.
vitamins that are affected and all. But going to this article that I was beginning to talk about very, very well, it was just published in March 2021, so this is really very current.
Breaking, breaking.
Yes, this is written by researchers of L'Oreal actually, together with Indian researchers. And what they did was they got, I think, 140 Indians with 70 of them with dandruff and 70 of them without dandruff. And then they look at the microbes that were present in their scalp skin and had them for 12 weeks apply 12, that's 3 months, apply coconut oil on the scalp, and then have
Right.
another 4 weeks of not applying
So,
anything.
if I can just interject quickly, the reason why, if I read the study correctly, the
Mm-hmm.
reason why they even thought about doing this is because coconut oil around the world
Mm-hmm.
and in India, which is where the study kind of originated,
Mm-hmm.
coconut oil is a very common thing for people to apply in their hair and their
Mm-hmm.
scalp,
Right.
right? So,
Right.
yeah, go ahead.
So,
I'm interested.
the result then is that on the people who had dandruff, and the people with dandruff, they retain their normal microbiota because, they say, oh, just live nicely with it. But in those who had dandruff, what happened is that there are two particular organisms they mentioned, that is Cutibacterium acnes and Malassezia globosa. Those are two normal microbiota in the scalp, and they
In our
increase
scalps.
in the scalp. They increase in number, which would mean that they have gone back to their normal
So the
microbiota.
assumption is with dandruff, those two organisms that
Were depleted.
okay, okay,
Maybe even because I don't have the evidence for this, except clinically nowadays, with people using all of these chemicals we were talking about that are destroy bacteria and fungi in
and
the,
viruses,
you
yeah,
know we are getting so many fungal infections that normally shouldn't be there, that
right,
we're getting Malassezia
right.
folliculitis and Tinea folliculitis. It's really weird.
It's really funky.
Yeah, so all I can say to these people is, stop please using all of these strong chemicals, or use them more sparingly, and use more natural things to disinfect and to cleanse.
Like vinegar,
Right, like vinegar or
coconut
baking soda or
oil.
coconut oil, and like that. And that way you won't degerm your micro your
Yeah.
normal microbiota and allow them to be
Okay.
able to conquer
So let
organisms.
me again back up and summarize for everybody. So what we started talking about hair loss, and so we talked about we have a genetic. Hi, Karen. A genetic inheritance that can certainly cause hair loss. But what everyone is talking about now, I think with epigenetics, et cetera, is it's never just your genes anymore. It
Correct.
really is what else you do to your hair and your scalp. If you pull it
That's
back,
right.
you use irritants and allergens, you do hair treatments, straightening, perming, etc.
In
But
other
what
words, the genes only react to the way you are treating it. But
right, so
first, you have to treat
the
it.
genes might actually just be there hanging out,
Yeah,
but you might do something that actually triggers them or
that's right.
not, right?
Hmm.
So then the other thing that she went into was dandruff. So we went from hair loss, right, and certain hair treatments. We can answer some questions about that later. But she also went into dandruff and crucially the skin's microbiome.
Yeah.
So for those who weren't at our microbiome live stream, a quick reminder there. Um, our bodies
Right.
come with, out of the factory, a certain amount of germs that are good. Lots of really beneficial bacteria. Most of the studies now that are on this are really on the gut, right? But we have bacteria and fungi that live all over our bodies, and they're supposed to be there. They are our friends, okay? So on our skin, some of the ones that live there happily, normally include Malassezia, Demodex mites,
Cutibacterium,
that one.
Actinobacteria, Firmicutes.
I should memorize those. But they normally live very happily. What she's saying is because of the pandemic and all the hyper disinfection we've been doing, arguably actually really necessary because we didn't want to spread this, right? But there are other options that are less like napalm to kill all the good and bad, right? Because of all the disinfection and all of that, they're seeing, a lot of dermatologists are really seeing a lot of imbalance
Mhm.
in the germ environment, the microbiome
Mm-hmm.
of the skin.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, if you kill too much of one bacteria, the
Mm-hmm.
Demodex might be unchecked and go a little bonkers, right?
Mm-hmm. So
Um,
rosacea becomes more florid nowadays,
or a
and
lot of
acne develops.
maskne is because of that. Malassezia or Demodex mites that are normally in good, they play well with others, but we kill so many of the others, so they go really, they run
They
wild,
become florid.
right?
Yeah.
So apparently the same thing can be happening on our scalps as well,
Yes, I
right?
was surprised. I mean, I didn't think about it until I read that article
Really
the other
interesting.
night. I
And
thought,
if we think
yeah, come
about
to think of it.
dandruff, and this was new to me, so dandruff apparently is also linked to certain healthy bacteria and fungi on our scalps that have been depleted,
Mm-hmm.
right? And the use of coconut oil on the scalp seems to return them
Mm-hmm.
to balance,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it might actually really help with it. This is a new study. Huh?
The
We
reason
probably
the
need more,
reason for
but
that, it seems, and this has been shown by many studies, is that the fatty acids that are when triglycerides of an oil are applied on the skin, they break down those organisms we're talking about. They break down the triglycerides into individual fatty acids, and because the fatty acids of coconut oil, for instance, because it's a natural botanical that we eat and drink, is native to the body cells. Fatty acids, they use them for making cell membranes and all that. So therefore, the antibacterial component, the antimicrobial component of coconut oil, do not touch those commensals. Do not touch those microbiota that are already in the body. They're friendly with them. But you get organisms with a different kind of shape or body or whatever, like a Staphylococcus aureus or a Pseudomonas or something like that that comes in. They're different. They will attack it. These can have the capacity of breaking down the cell membranes of these microbes, and that's its antimicrobial effect.
ta-da!
Da-da-da.
Okay, so going quickly to some questions because we actually have quite a few that came on Instagram and then are coming in now. Does the temperature, Ruth is asking, of the water in your shower affect your hair?
Um, Water itself will affect. I have patients who tell me that they are in the shower for 30 minutes. I say, what do you do for 30 minutes? You know, the hair actually is hydrophobic. In other words, it has an outer layer, just
That's
like the
right.
outermost layer of our
Keratin.
skin has the keratin layer, which is there's the mortar, which is hydrophobic. Also, it's oil. It protects our outermost layer against things that may come in. Same thing with the hair. The outermost layer of the cuticle membrane is hydrophobic also. If you now shower and use a lot of water and hot water yet, you're going to strip that oil. And then if you use a soap which has an anionic, those would be soaps that have the, say, sodium lauryl sulfate. They're not allergens, but because they are alkali, their pH is very high, like 9 or 10 pH is very high, they will destroy that oil and destroy its hydrophobicity. So this is why, if you really look at the ingredients in the labeling of a shampoo, it may contain some kind of anionic ingredient, but they balance it out with putting an anionic or
Right.
amphoteric kind of an
And like
ingredient.
everything in life, it's balance, right? So
Balance,
if you
right?
have that, then you also want to make sure you steer clear of allergens,
And hot water.
irritants,
Too much hot water.
too much
Anyway.
hot water. And if your hair is very, very dry, Jean just joined us. Hi, Jean. Dry hair, sometimes people are told not to shower every day or not to shampoo every day. I know a lot of people with very, very curly hair don't shampoo their hair every single day for that reason.
Mm-hmm.
And back when I was younger and my hair tended to be more on the dry side, same thing. I wouldn't shampoo every day
Mm-hmm.
to kind of give my hair a break from the hot water, the
Mm-hmm.
beating down of the water in a shower, and whatever surfactants were in a shampoo,
Yeah,
right?
it was
So,
interesting when I was reading the articles last night about the the effects of these shampoos that are being used. It's not just what you have done on it that is physical and thermal, like the stretching and the bleaching and the dyeing and all of that, but it's actually the chemicals that are used while it's in a state of softening,
mm,
that and then also on your daily use of products that may not be uh, gentle on the hair. If you like them to bubble like crazy, if you it may be a butter.
Yeah, bubbling isn't all it's cracked up
I
to
know.
be, folks. It's really more of a cosmetic thing. But before we get there, we do have a question for curly hair. Apple cider, is it okay as a conditioner for curly hair?
Vinegar will give it an acidic pH, so it can restore. If you're using a shampoo that is more alkali, more of those anionic based ingredients, yeah, then adding a little bit of vinegar to in your final rinse would be nice to bring back the acidity to a more better level,
What what's sorry, go ahead, finish up.
to a more acidic, like
Yeah.
below 7, 5.5 or something like that.
Yeah. So what
Yeah.
okay. What I'd like
Much
to
like, excuse me,
yeah.
what I also do is when I tell patients to use a laundry soap that is hypoallergenic. Some of them do not have a pH that will bring it down. I'll tell them to add just a little bit of vinegar also to the last rinsing, and that will help so that there's no fly away. There's no the things are like being conditioned properly is what the pH bringing down the pH will do. Hair doesn't fly away. It's glossy. It's soft. It lies down nicely.
Okay, so what I'm hearing actually that's really interesting and I think is a good take home for everybody here today. Um, Many of the things that will help one type of scalp and hair concern will actually help across the board, right? So, for example, lots, not all, maybe. Um, Anything that you do to stress the hair, the scalp, is not going to be friendly if your hair is curly, oily, or straight, or dry, or thick, or thin, right? We don't want to stress the scalp because we can also be stressing the hair follicles and cause hair fall because the hair shaft has been damaged. Stressing the hair scalp can bring about flaking, dandruff, seborrheic dermatitis, or make those conditions worse if they're already there. We can cause an imbalance in the microbiota of the scalp.
Mm-hmm.
For hair, anything that has really harsh anything. You heard her talk earlier about all these harsh chemicals in the air that we don't even apply on our head. We apply them on things like
Plus the sun
disinfectants.
acting down on it.
That is enough to actually cause breakage and other concerns on our hair and scalp. So, always think, gentle, moisturizing,
Balance.
lower pH, balance, gentle, gentle. All of those things will guide you no matter your hair type or scalp concerns.
Yeah.
In terms of, we had a question here about using bar shampoo. Is it safe for very dry hair?
Bar shampoos
Yeah,
are generally high pH.
yeah,
Yeah, they usually
yeah.
use sodium lauryl sulfate or something like
So
that.
here's the thing: sodium lauryl sulfate,
It's not a
SLS,
bad guy.
SLES, they're actually not bad. They're
That's
very
right.
good ingredients. They're derived from the coconut, they're antimicrobial, but like any irritant, concentration matters. So a really, really, really bubbly shampoo may not be your best idea, right? Because that probably means a lot more bubbly ingredients,
Mm-hmm.
bubbly causing ingredients. Look at the ingredients list. How high is the SLS and SLES listed? And are there other ingredients that balance it out
Yeah,
so that the pH of the entire product is not so high? You want it closer to your own natural pH, which is a little
acidic.
acidic. So, same actually, we always say don't use bar soaps for the face
Mm-hmm.
because
It's too
bar
strong.
soaps, the way they're made inherently, have very high pH. Bar shampoos are actually not the same. A lot of them are homemade. They have less lye and
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. But even then, bar soaps are
They still
gonna
need
be
sodium lauryl sulfate to make it into the bar.
right, and they're gonna be a higher pH than cream or liquid. So if the hair is already very dry, you might want to look for a cream or liquid instead.
Unless
Hi,
they are the
Liz.
glycerin type, see-through kinds of soaps. Those are generally milder.
Right, but I haven't seen anything like that. But yeah, look for glycerin. That's a nice one. If you're looking at SLS, SLES, look for glycerin, coconut oil, these things to kind of balance it out,
Mm-hmm.
right? Okay, for thinning hair,
Mm-hmm.
what can be suggested? So I'm going to repeat this part, then maybe you can take it to the more medical part. Same thing. Really avoid allergens and irritants in your shampoo and conditioner. Very, very mild. Anything that irritates that scalp can cause the follicle and the hair, well, cause, it can irritate the follicle, but can also cause the hair shaft to break. Interestingly enough, avoid stress. Easier said than done, but it's really important because there's a condition called telogen effluvium
Mm-hmm.
that you get temporary baldness. People with chemo get it. A lot of pregnant women after giving birth and COVID patients often get it. You can get it just from a severe fever. So calm, anti-inflammatory, all the things that you would do for sensitive skin, you can do for thinning hair. Don't wear your hair back in a bun or a ponytail because you might get traction alopecia. But in terms of thinning hair, medicines that can maybe help it regrow, what can you recommend that's new there?
It's remove the
Or
stress.
best stuff?
The most important thing in any kind of problem is that you try to remove what initiated it. And like Laura was saying, stress is so common
Mm.
nowadays. I mean, whether it's not having too much work, or the market is down, or nobody's buying, or there's nobody flying and the hotels are closed. I mean, whatever your work is or job is, there's a lot of stress nowadays. There are, I think, I can think of
Oh,
five immediately of hair loss conditions where stress is very important. One is alopecia areata, those round spots or bald spots that appear all of a sudden. That's alopecia areata. One big starter for that would be stress. And those can be treated. Fortunately, we inject them with steroids, or we apply
so that's
steroids
one.
on them.
I was asking about
Another
that.
one was is
Charming.
androgenetic alopecia, which may appear earlier than it should because the androgen hormones are up.
Mm.
Androgen hormones go up when there is stress. So balding of the hair in the male, and even some in the females may also start losing the hairs. Fortunately, our pattern alopecia maintains the hairline, but we have them more on the scalp area. And then there's some people who pull on their hair when they're under stress. So that's
Yeah.
trichotillomania.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's people who also, um, you know, use traction. You pull at
Traction
their
alopecia.
traction
Too
alopecia
strong
as well.
water pressure probably does the same thing as well. It's a
And lastly are
physical
the chemicals
stress.
in the air.
Yeah.
If you have
But
thinning hair already
yeah.
and you're under a bright light
So
that
okay, so
shines
she
down,
mentioned that already a lot in the beginning, but what I want to make sure we tackle because you're here
yeah.
is besides say injections of steroids to the scalp, are there drugs now that you consider like gold standards for thinning hair or baldness?
For alopecia areata, it's still gold standard to use injections,
Yeah.
topical or injections, or a combination of chemicals, not just steroids. Some other chemicals can be used to inject and bring
Minoxidil.
it out faster. There are topicals, of course. There's minoxidil and finasteride. I
Mm-hmm.
have a favorite compounding I use in my clinic, and by reading these bloody things, I learned something new that I'm going to add to the formulation. That is, it said something about, remember when the hair is thinning, what you can do is make the circumference a little bit bigger by just using the silicones and acrylates to thicken the diameter of that hair and make it look like there more. So I said I shall do that.
So she's going
So
to be playing with that.
I'll be playing
Um,
with that formulation.
okay, so now going, June has a nice question I really like. How about using vegan or organic hair color? Is it better than regular over the counter hair color or same harmful effect in the long run? Mm.
The vegan hair, you must remember that just
Vegan and
because things
organic.
are vegan and just because things are labeled organic or vegan, they're not necessarily non-allergenic. Let's put
Exactly.
it that way. For instance, allergies to strawberry and to mangoes and to mint and to cinnamates and to balsams of, I mean, those are common contact and photocontact allergens, and it's the same thing
Mm-hmm.
with what you call vegan. Therefore, things to use, or it will have to be something that is really peer reviewed, and so that we can really take a look at it and see if it works in hair growth. What were you suggesting?
What I was going to say is very much the same thing. So here's the thing about, and I know this because I won't say any brand because we're really good about that always when she's here. Um, it's been a holy grail of sorts in the cosmetics industry to come up with a hair dye that is permanent, semi permanent, but not irritating. So the big issue, right, in hair treatments, formaldehydes, not because of the toxicity necessarily that, was very viral a few years ago. It's a big allergen, right? And yeah, inhaling it isn't a great idea. But PPD,
Paraphenylenediamine.
paraphenyl,
Paraphenylenediamine.
paraphenylenediamine, is an
Number one
allergen. It's
allergen.
a big one. And it's in a lot of hair dyes. It
Right.
really is. Even organic hair dyes can have PPD. And
Mhm.
people like it because the black is so damn rich,
Right.
right? And it stays. Anything currently that you put in a hair product that causes it to develop this extremely rich color that also lasts, right? It doesn't wash off with a shampoo, that's got something. That's definitely got allergens in it. Maybe an organic allergen, an allergen nonetheless, right? So PPD, I don't even know if that's qualified as organic or not.
PPD is a synthetic chemical.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, it's similar to the tars, the
Yeah.
chimney, the black thing that
Lovely.
people were sliding on in Mary
Yeah.
Poppins.
But here's the thing: a lot of
Related to that.
henna can be contaminated by PPD as well. That's
Yes.
why it lasts longer on henna
That's right.
tattoos.
The henna itself is red.
Yeah.
So when a patient says, "Oh, but I'm using henna, so you'll not react." Yeah, I said, "What's the color of your hair?" It's
Right.
dark brown. Well, okay. In order to
Then
make it red, dark brown, you've got to add a dye.
right. So look very carefully at the ingredients. If not all the ingredients are disclosed, immediate red flag, particularly if you tend to have allergies. Okay. Karen is asking, can hair shampoo or conditioner contrite to acne breakouts? Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
If they contain comedogens,
See bangs
yeah.
and see
Or just
flyaway
sweat.
hairs that
If
go
you
in.
sweat and
You
they come
sweat,
down
yeah.
here or here,
As well as waxes that the
yeah.
men like to put on their hair. When you
Hair
sweat,
styling
it comes
products.
down.
Comedogens will clog the pore. And here's a myth I love debunking every time we do this. If you use something once and you get acne, that's probably not the cause of the acne.
No.
Because it takes time to build up the clog and make the comedone, right?
That's right.
Another myth I like sort of debunking is thinking that it's just comedogens. Allergens can cause acne too. Not because they'll clog, but because they'll irritate the pore and cause inflammation, potentially
So that they
infection.
eventually
So
get it.
very much so.
Right.
Jana's asking, hi Jana, Utah, our friend in Utah.
Hi, Jana.
Is there something that can be done to help prevent hair that has a tendency to constantly get tangled?
Yeah. The tangling of the
Yeah.
hair can be due to what processes you're using, so that they they have fly away their frizz. It's usually due to again the pH and the loss of that hydrophobicity. Remember I was telling you about that, like just like your stratum corneum and the hair, the outermost CMC of the cuticle is hydrophobic, so it should be more attracted to oil, and it's not attracted to water. If water, then the pH and the the ions there will make it come together and be more flyaway or curl.
That's brand new. That's what she was just reading. But before we continue there, because I really want to delve into that, I want to say hi and bye to Tammy. Tammy's our friend. I think she's watches from Maryland. She's leaving soon because she's getting her second vaccine tomorrow morning.
Ooh.
God bless you. Go, 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 go. I'm so happy for you. But okay, so going back to the tangling. This is really interesting. This is what you were delving into last night, was all this, the new stuff on anionic versus ionic versus cationic.
Cationic and amphoteric.
Right. So all that might actually affect the tangleability
Right. Yes.
of hair
Yes.
strands, which I think is fascinating.
Yes.
I know.
Don't use if
watching-
you're the one who's using the bar soap, don't use
Don't use
it.
that, yeah.
Look for a gentle one that
Right.
says pH is this, for instance. Look at the labels always.
You know, a personal thing that really helps me, but it really depends on your hair type, because when I do it, I look like I'm a surfer dudette, which is not a bad thing. I just can't carry the look as well as I'd like. Is if I do a coconut oil wrap and I leave it on, that actually helps me. The thing is, for several days, I look like a wet dog. My daughter, who has really curly hair, though, even if she puts lots and lots of coconut oil, it doesn't look wet, right? And it definitely helps with her hair getting less tangled. I was going to say, watching with us today are many, many people who have very curly hair. And while there are some things in the curly girl method that I think are a little, that could be maybe more scientific, there are some tips in the curly girl method that I know have worked for my daughter, at least anecdotally, right, that might be helpful in terms of tangling. And that includes not shampooing every day. When you shampoo, how that's where you do your detangling, right? So you can get the oil and the conditioners in there, doing a very light rinse, not doing this with a
These are all
towel,
very good.
right?
Yes.
Just,
Yeah.
or even better, her best days are when she lets it air dry completely, no
There.
towel whatsoever.
There. Right.
And the classic, I think that any curly girl here will raise their hands and say amen, I'm sure. The classic thing that changed her life, two things, well, really the material of her towel and the material of her pillowcase.
Okay. I learned
So
something new.
she uses a microfiber towel
Mm-hmm.
or
Ah,
a
okay.
cotton t-shirt if she has to use a towel
Yes.
at all. Otherwise, she lets it air dry. And then her pillowcase is silk.
Super.
So there's nothing to cause that, right?
This is goes along what I was telling you earlier, that all of these, whether it's the procedure that's being done and makes that hair vulnerable, or the shampoo that you're using that again makes your hair vulnerable, it's what you do during that vulnerable state of the hair that helps a lot in
Yeah.
keeping it in place. And these are the things that she just shared. Her daughter really has curly, beautiful, thick curly hair.
But
So
it is
these are
good.
great
Yeah. So it's
tips
slightly
for.
different care.
Yeah.
I want to shout out for Liz, who's phenomenal. It's good to see you again. But she was so funny. Well, one thing first, she says, most of the stuff, the dyes I'm assuming you were talking about on Instagram, don't list ingredients. And that's a big problem. If you have sensitive scalps, flaking scalps, or skin allergies, if you don't see the ingredients, contact the brand and see if you can get them.
Or you can go, this is what I do. You can go into, whatever you search. But don't go to the website of the company because they will not put the ingredients there. What I do is I keep looking into sometimes the drugstore, sometimes the distributor or whatever. They keep looking, but what I write down, my search would be the name of the product and say ingredients. And you can actually,
Actually, you can
eventually,
find it.
yes, you can
Yeah.
find it among them, but never bother going to the website of the makers
Okay,
because they won't tell
sometimes
you.
I go to the brand, but yes, sometimes I just go to Google and go nuts. Liz also cracked me up because when I said lessen stress, her reaction was ha ha ha. Yeah, I feel you. I do. I work at it though. Okay. Um, oh, so many great questions, you guys. Yes, my mom is fantastic when she's nerding out on ingredients. Truly, truly. Hair lice. Oh, great question. Hair lice, there's that classic one.
Well,
Well, in the States,
permethrin,
right.
right?
Permethrin is the active ingredient.
Yeah.
It really actually works.
It's
Um,
related to ivermectin, which is, people are asking me if I will give
don't
it for
take
COVID-19.
permethrin.
And I
Don't you
said,
take it. Don't drink it. Don't think it's for COVID. Don't do that. It's for lice on your head. Are we clear, people?
it's for
Please.
lice, it's for scabies, it's for creeping eruption, as we call it. If you're in the garden and, going into the soil and the soil happens to have feces that were there for a while
Lovely.
before, and there's little worms that then, a little break in your skin, they will go in. And next thing you know, in your skin, you'll see this little, what we call creeping eruption, little wormy thing. And we look for the head part and we go there and we zap it. And that's it.
But believe it or
You
not,
didn't want to hear that.
no, I think it's good to know. Believe it or not, the old classic stuff that you do for hair lice still works.
No.
So permethrin, look for the active ingredient. Follow the
Overnight use and that's
instructions.
it.
Leave it on there. Make sure you get one of those super thin combs and you
Combs.
comb out any of the eggs that might still be left.
Right.
Don't in terms of fomites, bed sheets and
Yes.
pillowcases and
And
stuff.
sleeping with somebody.
Well, there you go. But you try
While
to
you
get,
have it, of course.
yeah.
Afterwards, it's okay.
But like with fomites and things like that, you don't just wash them, right? You have to try to air them out in the sun if you
Right.
can help it. Okay. From Jean, can we use regular vinegar for the hair for the last rinse, or should it be apple cider vinegar? How much vinegar?
Truth be told, I really don't like apple cider vinegar as much as I like coconut vinegar, if you don't mind. And the reason for that is that
Surprise, surprise.
the
In our
coconut,
house, sorry, the joke in the house is we're like big fat Greek weddings, but with coconut oil, right? We need to disinfect the table. Coconut oil. I have a zit. Coconut oil. COVID. I mean, which
I
is
like a
true.
product which has multiple functions.
And fair enough, the studies are there.
Whatever. But I like coconut vinegar in particular because it comes from, if this is the tree, there is a stem that carries the flowers. And if you now cut that, you will be able to get the vinegar out of it. And because it really is freshly coming from the tree yet, it's not yet made into the fruit, right? It has a lot of growth factors and antioxidants and things for growth that are present that are really fantastic. And you can use that very nicely. Whereas an apple cider vinegar, the apple is ready to be fall,
Hmm.
and it's really just carbs and some acids and whatever.
Okay,
But
so how much of
so
coconut
therefore,
vinegar will you
coconut
use?
vinegar, couple of drops, half a
So not that
teaspoon
much.
in your last rinse, for instance, cycle, that'll be enough.
First, I want to make sure I say maayong buntag to Lai, who's watching from Camiguin in
Oy,
Mindanao.
kumusta ka muna diha, day?
I just because I can say, oh, lagi kaayo, oh, like a true Cebuana. I
And
get
another
away
one
with
she
it.
likes to say is that mo ano?
Mo-
Mo
I don't know. Anyway, okay. I don't want to get. Great question from Ruth. Do hair health oral supplements, biotin, gummy hair vitamins actually do anything? Actually help the hair?
On that,
Good question.
there is always a yes or no. There are no data until now that I look last. There's really no data showing that it is that important, and but lots of people believe in it.
Yeah.
And this article I
She's
was
being
telling you
so
about
diplomatic.
by L'Oreal, by the people of L'Oreal with the Indian Research Institute, it actually talks about the microbiota, that they were looking at the microbiota themselves with the number of organisms that were there plus function.
Mm.
And they found that the biotin that was produced from the amino acids or whatever by the presence of the organisms innately present were better. So maybe the biotin is important. But the important thing about using all of these vitamins is you must remember nature is in
Okay.
balance. And if you take too much of one vitamin, for instance, if you take vitamin A at a certain level, it is good. But if you take 10,000 or 20,000 units or whatever, then the body already forgets
Okay.
and doesn't
I
work. I
have so
mean,
much to say about this. I'd like to jump in quickly because we have so many great questions that are still here. So, number one, um, first, Ruth, the first thing to remember with any supplement that you're taking is you might not be getting anything, period. There's
yeah.
so many funding already, the studies into supplements, because they don't so many don't do anything.
Not diddly. What they are is they
Or you don't
show
get
that
enough of it.
some of them may, but a lot of them don't,
Right.
and a lot of them may even make
And not necessarily go to, say, the bloodstream or
mm-hmm,
a specific organ that you're targeting,
mm-hmm.
right? Which is why she loves melatonin by the
Right,
mucosa,
right.
right? And she also prefers and up the nose with virgin coconut oil instead of drinking it. Look at the evidence-based trials, studies that are published in peer-reviewed journals, and make sure whatever it is you are taking has what's stated. The potential monkey wrench here is all the great new studies on on probiotics. Most of them show what is stated on the package is actually what you get. The problem is it's so early in the game, we're not sure what you really need to be
Mm-hmm,
taking in your
mm-hmm.
probiotics, for you in particular, right? Much less for your hair. which probiotics and how much of it you should be taking.
That's
So it's
right.
very early days. So in answer to your
So early
question,
days for those.
do they help? Maybe, but there isn't compelling evidence yet that says that. Is that fair?
Excellent.
Okay.
She's a good student.
Okay.
Mwah.
I'll get into any questions about products later. So thinning hair, we recommended to Jean's mother who likes experimenting. Maybe stop the experimentation first. Concentrate on gentle stuff. That de-stressing, concentrate on that. If it gets really bad, look at, is she pulling the hair? Talk to a doctor. Maybe there are hormonal issues to look at. Can I use kombucha to rinse my hair? Fascinating.
Fascinating. Kombucha is pH acidic. You could, but gee, that's nicer to eat, isn't it?
Hmm. Yeah, sorry. I just want to make sure. We were told that we dropped. Are we back, folks? Can you see us and hear us? We have about 4 minutes left. So we'll be taking the last few questions. Kombucha, I think I haven't seen any studies on it at all. But if you'd like to try it, I don't know
What
that
for?
to rinse the hair.
To rinse the hair.
I don't know that it would be a bad thing necessarily. It depends. Look, some allergens are natural, right? So if it's a
Hmm.
kombucha that has
I have no
mango,
idea.
or if it's a kombucha that has what's
Right.
another top contact allergen?
Orange.
Lavender. I've had lavender kombucha.
Cinnamon.
Oranges,
Cinnamon.
calamansi,
Mint. Phenol.
mint.
Menthol.
There's a lot, right? So if your kombucha has that,
Balsam.
and you have skin allergies, you might be causing some flaking
Fine.
scalp and stuff. Thank you, Charming. I'm glad we're back. Okay. Okay. So I think we're good as far as questions. I have about 3 minutes, 4 minutes left, really. I just want to make sure we get. You're very welcome, June. If you have any more questions, please DM us, right? Want to use DCO serum or wrap? I'm afraid it's going to make my hair greasy, especially going to work, going out, especially in hot, humid weather. So, June, I mentioned this earlier. If your hair is thin, like mine's very fine. I have a lot of it, thank goodness, still, but it's very fine. That's not attractive. I really shouldn't do that in public. But if I use coconut oil, I look like a wet dog for days.
Don't apply. I always tell my patients, please don't apply that much because believe it or
You
not,
only need a
you
little.
need very little, and it spreads very nicely.
Okay,
into
these
the
two
skin.
questions I want to make sure we don't end without answering. Number one, can we be spared from getting gray or white hair?
Number one, it's stress related. Also, number
Yeah.
two, it's also genetic. So um, until
Anti-inflammatory,
now, there are
anti-inflammatory.
no, but I'm sure it will come eventually of mutating the addressing the enzymes that are being stimulated
Yeah.
by your genes. You know that.
Yeah,
I mean, precision medicine that's coming is
for sure.
genetic, and eventually there will be just
Plus, I'd like to
there'll
double
be something.
down, right? Everything that we're learning to stay healthy will benefit all of you. Your hair, gray hair, hair fall, body, weight, skin, everything. So, if you are eating a lot of fresh fruits and veggies,
Mhm.
you're gonna be getting a lot of antioxidants. Antioxidants fight against the perioxidative process of aging, which
Mhm.
contributes to that.
Mhm.
So your exposomes, you have control over that, not your
Right.
genes, right? Cello is asking how much daily hair fall is normal.
It could be up to 200, especially when you are shampooing or whatever, but on a general rule, it's about 50. But you don't notice them. They fall from various places. So
Okay,
as much as 200, but
yeah.
generally it's much less, like about
In
40
yeah.
to 50.
Intelligent effluvium, hair, so it'll stop for a while. How long before the hair fall stops and you start
When the hair
regrowing?
falls out in delusion effluvium, it's actually a signal that new hairs are now popping out of the hair roots that were in a dormant state for 3 months, 2 to 3 months. They begin to shoot out new hairs, and with that, the hairs that were just there statically and not doing anything because they were
Right.
no longer connected are being pushed out, and that's what is coming
So
out.
how I love
So in a
talking,
month's time,
yeah,
you will be seeing them.
how I love talking about telogen effluvium is fever, COVID, pregnancy, chemo, whatever. Your follicles basically go, damn, there's a lot. So we're just gonna chill, and your follicles chill. They go to a resting
Right.
phase, and
Yeah.
they're just like, I need to, you know, when the fever goes, the pregnancy is over and things start to normalize, then the follicles are like, oh, cool, we can get back to business here, right? So they start producing again.
If I may, before we
Oh,
end,
yeah.
because stress was so much a subject today, let me just tell you guys that I see a lot of patients who, when I ask them about stress, will say, no, 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 I'm not under stress. I know there are lots of things to attend to, but I'm not stressed at all.
Mm.
And I'll stop there for a while and I look at them and I say, but your hair is complaining.
Yeah. Many times our bodies know better than our
Yeah,
brains.
right. So
So, yeah,
be sure that you address your stress situation.
it's really serious.
Recognize it,
Yeah.
accept it, and
And
address
remember,
it.
stress isn't just mental stress.
Mhm.
It can also be
From the diet, you're
from your
eating,
diet.
staying at home all
Lack
the
of
time, so you're
sleep
eating a
is a
lot of things
huge
that
one.
are
If you're
not.
not getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep, that will absolutely contribute to your hair and skin
That's
problems.
right.
Eating junk food will too.
Right. I am 82 years old, but I still make it a point that I go to sleep 7 to 8 hours.
Well,
I may wake up in the middle of the night, but I don't turn on my this because again the white light will keep me awake for several minutes more. So I
well, she's
go
doing her
and then I go.
studies. It's a little,
Yeah, I
but
know.
anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. I will say goodbye so you can go. I love you. Mwah. All
This
right.
was
Thanks,
fun. Thank
everybody.
you so much for listening in and take care.
So as she goes out,
Bye
I'll make
bye.
sure I address some of the questions I can't when she's around. Um, Karen, I'm so happy that you found this helpful. Liz was asking me, can you use node oil for hair every other night? Yeah, totally. My daughter uses it anytime, frequently throughout the day because of her curly hair. Um,
Don't drench your hair out. Just apply it.
okay. Um, yeah, Lai, I'm so sorry about stocks. We really, really got super hit by. Okay, wait, I can't talk about stuff while she's here, so I'll just wait. She gets mad at me. Don't think she doesn't. I get scolded, so I don't want to be scolded.
True.
Okay, is she gone? Yes. Okay, Lai, I'm so sorry about the stocks. We have been really affected, and it hasn't just been sort of us as a company, but our manufacturing, for example, we're not allowed to produce in the shifts we normally do because we are locked down. In addition to that, our poor suppliers. Or even our Viber, because we make sure to tell people when something popular is back in stock. They go quickly, so we just make sure, right? Other than that, I think I got most of the questions. And I will make sure that they get answered personally. Thank you very much, everybody, for your time. And we will see you next week, same time, Wednesday, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and Thursday, 10 a.m. in Manila. Stay safe, everybody. De stress. De stress. Meditate. Insight Timer is free. It's a great app. Lots of guided meditations. Take care, everyone. Stay safe. Bye bye.